Hello and welcome along to Transfer Talk. Welcome back. There are less than 2 weeks left in the window. Will Crystal Palace lose both Ebere Eze and Marc Guéhi? Well, we can cross live to the club's training ground now and speak to our reporter, Gary Cottrell. Hello again, Gary. You're on Eze watch. We saw you try and grab him a couple of times, didn't you, at Stamford Bridge on the weekend. Can we expect him to be part of the team that plays on Thursday, do you think, for Crystal Palace?
Well, Oliver Glasner, post-match to the interviewers and to the news conference, said that as far as he was concerned, he would be a part of the preparations for that game at Selhurst Park on Thursday night and a part of the playing squad for that game. Listen, we won't be seeing him or anyone down here today because they're on a day off. They did a warm down yesterday after that draw at Stamford Bridge. Off today. They'll be back here tomorrow to train from 11:30 tomorrow morning. So I guess then is when we'll see Eze and Guéhi, come to that, out there training in preparation for that game. And I think we will see Eze out there unless something happens very quickly in the meantime, and I don't think anything is that imminent because he isn't the kind of player to go on strike, to not do what he's required to do by the club, either at the training ground or at the stadium or travelling to away games. He's very much a loyal player. He has great affection and pride wearing the Crystal Palace shirt, and the Glasner expects him very much to carry on like that, even around all this speculation. His social media, for example, there's nothing like we've seen with Wissa over the last 24 hours, removing his image and removing any reference to Brentford. If you look on the Instagram of Eze, just hours after that game at Chelsea, he scored, of course, but was disallowed because of the problems with the wall. He posted a picture of him playing for Crystal Palace against Chelsea. There's still very much pride in being a professional here at Crystal Palace, and we expect him to be here training as normal tomorrow morning.
I'm sure Palace want to keep him if they can, but are they preparing for his potential departure by looking at a possible replacement?
Of course, two ways they will let Eze go. One is that they get the money that they require for him. Of course, that clause in his contract, that release clause, which was 68 million if you include add-ons, that's now gone. That's disappeared from the contract late last week. But Steve Parish will still be wanting around that kind of money for this player, for this prized asset, 60, 65, 70 million. And those negotiations with Daniel Levy, which we understand are going on, will have that kind of figure in mind. And of course, the other caveat to letting him go this late in the transfer window is finding a replacement for him. And one name that's emerged among others is Bilal El Khanous, Leicester City, 21-year-old, very similar kind of player, can play attacking midfield, can also play wide. Obviously, still a long way behind in terms of development and ability to be a star in the Premier League, a long way behind Eze, but Leicester City thought to be willing to let him go for around about 30 million, so that would leave Crystal Palace in big profit if they can get that kind of money for him, because they need to get some money into the club so they can fund building the squad in other areas. So that's one of the names that's been mentioned potentially coming in to replace Eze, but Crystal Palace will be having their tentacles up, and they'll be having fields all around football in England, in Europe and beyond to try and find a replacement for Eze, so they are in a position, if the money is right, to let him go. But that's one name that's certainly emerged in the last few hours.
The Eze decision's a big one, but so is the Marc Guéhi one, isn't it? Because as Steve Parish outlined, they do not want to let him go for free if they can avoid it, but that could very easily happen in the summer.
Well, there is that potential, of course, and they knew that, though, didn't they, with Guéhi last summer when Newcastle, we all thought all summer long, it was the deal that was going to be done. Newcastle were determined, were insistent, came in with offer after offer after offer, almost meeting Crystal Palace's requirement in terms of a fee, but not quite doing it. And in the end, Steve Parish, Crystal Palace, stuck to their word, and they said, unless you pay the price that we want, you're not getting him. And he stayed, and he performed, and he helped Crystal Palace to 2 trophies, let's not forget, and a good season as well in the Premier League. Obviously, it's a different situation now because he's got just a year left on his contract. There seems to be no movement in terms of renewing that contract, but that is the other potential, isn't it, that Liverpool, the front runners who are after him, still not offering the kind of money Crystal Palace want, even with a year left on his contract. And if Liverpool don't, I don't think Steve Parish will let him go, and the player will stay and either be free next summer, or he loves Palace. We know that. He knows what Palace have done for his career. Negotiate a new deal and still be available for sale next summer rather than going for free. And sometimes behind the scenes, player and club can come to that kind of agreement. Give us another year, give us a bit of an extension on your contract, and we'll sell you for sure to anybody who meets our value next summer. So it would seem that Crystal Palace not at the moment ready to sell either player as they prepare for their first encounter, not in the European competition that they wanted and they feel they deserve, but still very much a competition they believe that they can win.
Feels like a very important couple of weeks for Palace. Thanks very much, Gary. Right. We'll talk about Spurs in a minute, but let's just look at it from a Palace point of view, and I'm talking about Eze here. If he does leave, where does that leave Palace?
Well, if Eze does leave, it means to me, my understanding is that Palace will have secured a replacement. Like many of these transfer situations, these clubs, selling clubs, want to get their replacement sorted out. And as Gary's mentioned there, Bilal El Khanous is the player there's interest in. Now, he featured for 45 minutes against Leicester, against Preston on Saturday, taken off by Martí Cifuentes. Wasn't really impressed with him during the game. Obviously, a disappointing result for Leicester. Another player they remain interested in is Christophe Selos at Club Brugge. Now, they have a massive game in Glasgow tonight against Rangers in the Champions League playoff round. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays. But look, Crystal Palace recruited ever so well over the last few years. Many people watched Eze when he played for QPR. It was Crystal Palace who bit the bullet. Many people watched Marc Guéhi at Chelsea and other loan spells. It was Crystal Palace who bit the bullet. Crystal Palace have done ever so well over the last few years in terms of recruitment. They get on very well with the hierarchy in Steve Parish. Dougie Freeman, of course, is no longer there. But also, I've got to mention Oliver Glasner. He's an ultra-ambitious manager. Even when they won the Community Shield, this is Crystal Palace we're talking about. Sort of shrugging it, yeah, great. Next one, let's go. And I know Palace fans, it's been devastating for them not being in the Europa League. Just go and give the Conference League a crack. And I'm sure that'll be the message from Glasner. But what Glasner wants now is players through the door. Because they probably haven't got enough players for Europe and the league. So it's all well and good maybe Eze leaving. They will have to bring players through the door. OK. Should we look at it from a Spurs point of view then with Eze? Before I move on, actually, I know there's that shot of Marc Guéhi with Glasner. But that's all fine, I'm told. Okay. He went to have a post-match drugs test. OK, so that's why he just went down the tunnel then? Yes. OK, all right, there you go. Good intel. Let's get back to Eze then and his potential move to Tottenham. Is the timing almost perfect now for what Tottenham Hotspur need and for what Eze needs to take his career to the next stage? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it was a devastating injury for James Maddison, for him and Spurs. You know, James Maddison's had a great couple of years for Spurs, but it's a heartbreaking injury for him. So their plans for a number 10 have been accelerated. Of course, the Morgan Gibbs-White, Spurs thought that was going to happen, then didn't. We all know what happened there, so I'm not going to go into that again. But Eze is someone who Spurs have looked at for some time. He's at a great age now. He's an England international. So, and look, if Eze was to join, he would fit straight in, you know. So, and the targets for Spurs this summer to replace Son on the left-hand side. There was interest in Savinho from Manchester City. That's why I put Wilson Odegaard there. But he's still young. I'd imagine Spurs could look for some another player on that left-hand side. Eze there, of course. Don't want Palace fans getting angry. So we've got the old asterisk there. It's not done. And then that's a big one for Spurs as well, with Christian Romero signing a new contract. So And Kudus as well, being a very strong signing as well. So it's been a good couple of weeks for Thomas Frank.
Just quickly, if he does come in, what does that mean for the future of James Maddison?
I think for James Maddison, he's just got to concentrate on his injury. It's going to take some time. So it's going to take. We don't know how long he'll be out, but he's got the full backing of the club. Look, another player we haven't mentioned is Dejan Kulusevski. He's a quality player, and he's been a key player for Spurs over the years. He's not going to be back till around late October, November, even maybe early December time. So, and I go back to it again. This isn't just the league we're talking about. They're in the Champions League as well. You need a big squad full of quality.
Yeah. Thank you, Bridgie. All right, still to come. Plenty on Transfer Talk. Will Rasmus Højlund and Jadon Sancho actually leave Manchester United? We'll discuss that and a lot more in just a moment. Stay with us. This is Transfer Talk, and this is your transfer update. Yoane Wissa remains angry that a transfer to Newcastle from Brentford has not materialised. He's deleted all traces of his current club from his social media. Crystal Palace have approached Leicester City to discuss a possible deal for forward Bilal El Khanous as they look for a replacement for Eberechi Eze, who is nearing a move to Spurs. Napoli have identified Man United striker Rasmus Højlund as a potential target to cover for the injured Romelu Lukaku. That's according to Sky in Italy. Roma are not giving up on a potential deal for Man United forward Jadon Sancho. Roma have also reached an agreement with Aston Villa to sign Leon Bailey on loan. Fenerbahce are close to agreeing a loan deal with West Ham for Edson Alvarez. The talks have been for a loan that includes an option to buy. Gianluigi Donnarumma is valued at between £34.5 million and £43.1 million, with 1 year left on his Paris Saint-Germain contract. Sunderland have made an offer to Bologna for this man, the defender John Lukumi. Wolves have signed right-back Jackson Chachua from Serie A side Hellas Verona on a 5-year deal. The fee is £10.8 million. Wrexham are close to agreeing a deal for Manchester City centre-back Callum Doyle. He spent last season on loan at Norwich. It's understood a deal worth up to £8 million is being discussed by the clubs. And Birmingham City are interested in signing the former Arsenal and Liverpool midfielder Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Don't forget, you can keep across all the latest information as it happens on our dedicated Transfer Centre blog. You just scan the QR code that is on your screen right there, and it'll take you to where you need to be.